So assume we have a file such as this exam.txt file, and we have the grades of however many students in our class. And you want to see how many of them fail and how many of them pass, okay? And we can use file input in order to determine if these grades are pass or fail. We can loop through each of the records in this file, and we can actually test for each of these records. First, we're going to make a integer array to take in our input. So call this int input, just give it a value of 100. We're going to have about 20 kids, or 20 inputs, so just have about 100 to be on the safe side. We're going to make three variables. We're going to call one of them x, one of them fail, one of them pass. So one for the loop, and we're going to add one for the failing students, add one for the passing students. Next, let's create our instance. So fstream text file, we'll call it text file. Okay, we're going to open the text file. So text file, open. We're going to call it exam.txt. And we all know that we have to make a file called exam.txt in the same directory as our compiler and input some values. So whatever, input some values, however many you want. Okay. Next, let's create a loop to loop through each of these and have a condition. So let's make a while loop. So first off, while the not operator, name of the text file. This function here determines if the end of the file has been reached yet, and this negates that. So while it is not the end of the file, do this. So we're going to append the current line of the text file. We're going to append that to whatever the input, right? Append that to the input at the value x. And we're going to create, as we did, we created the x value up here. Let's set that to 0. So the first line of the file will append to the input array, okay? At element 0, starting at element 0. So we're going to see out, let's just see out the grade, input the grade at that line, and then we're going to see out the grade at that line. After that, we're going to test if this input is either less than 50 or greater than 50, okay? So let's do if input at x is less than 50. So we're going to add to the fail counter because it's obviously less than 50, so fail plus plus. Next, else, so obviously if it's not less than 50, it's greater than 50, so we add to the pass counter, okay? Next, we're going to increment the x value, so every time it loops, we're going to add 1 to the x value, and we'll go to the next line. So after the loop is run, we're going to close it. The same thing, text file.close, and then we can see out at the end, fail, students, out of, so let's just say number of students out of, let's say fail plus pass, did not pass the exam. So let's compile this. So we read the text file over here. So 95, 45, 78, whatever, we copy that, and then we output that in the array, from the array. And then it gets to 76, it stops, it reaches the end of the file, and then we calculate how many are under 50. So 8 students out of, oh, this is screwed up. There we go, set them to 0, and then we do it like this. So 8 students out of 21 did not pass the exam. Make sure these are set to 0, because if they're not set to 0, you're going to start working with some screwed up values. So set them to 0, and then work with the numbers, okay? So that's basically file input. So you input stuff from a file, make sure it's saved in the same directory as your compiler. That's very key. And then you're on your way.